1019
KACQ.
Good afternoon. I'm Casey Chapman here with your local Lampasas area news. This newscast a broadcast of Hoff Power Pawn and Gun. It was a much busier day for LPD yesterday, but it stayed quiet throughout the overnight hours. Officers started out in the 9 o'clock hour with a suspicious activity call in the 100 block of Omnis. They had a busy 10 o'clock hour with a possession of drug paraphernalia call in the 100 block of East Avenue D, a harassment complaint in the 1300 block of East Central Texas Expressway, an assault by threat reported in person at the PD, and another suspicious activity call, this one in the 600 block of North Hackberry. A theft was reported in the 200 block of East Avenue D just past 11. Then officers caught a break until mid-afternoon when a criminal trespass in the 600 block of North Key. A couple more reports of thefts came in, one at the high school and the other in the 500 block of East North Avenue. Dispatchers had them roll out on a criminal mischief in the 1200 block of West 3rd, and SROs took care of a harassment complaint at the high school. And a non-injury wreck was swept up in the 100 block of Omnis. Officers wrapped up the night tracking down a prowler in the 900 block of North Ridge just past 10. No arrests were made by the city. The county booked in a 25-year-old Lomita man for possession of marijuana, a 27-year-old Cove man for a bond revocation and a couple of out-of-county charges, and a 38-year-old Lampasas man on a bench warrant. Lomita settled a disturbance and worked a theft case. Kempner went out to check on a suspicious person and had an animal complaint. County deputies had a couple of harassment complaints, worked a civil matter, cooled a disturbance, and rolled out to Cove on an animal complaint. Stick around, more Lampasas local area news is just moments away.
Whoa. Hey now, what are you looking for?
I'm a little short on change. I'm craving some tacos, and payday is still 2 days away.
Well, you have all of this stuff sitting around here that you're not using right now, so why not take it up to Hoffy's Pawn and Gun and burn it and have some money to tide you over? And I also see you have stuff that you haven't used in a long time that you could just go sell, like this guitar that you were going to learn to play years ago.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. I think I'll do just that. Tacos, here I come.
Hold up, I'll go with you. They take all kinds of stuff like guns, jewelry, musical instruments, laptops, tools, and a lot more. They also offer a large selection of quality new and used guns and pistols, as well as ammo. Hey, do you feel like venison?
No, I don't think so.
Hoffy's Pawn and Gun. Check them out online at hoffyspawnandgun.com or head to 201 South Water Street in Burnett for all of your pawn shop and gun needs.
And when you just want some extra money for tacos.
Last week's district court had 43 cases brought before it. Of those 43, only 8 were settled, with Noel Graves Medina receiving a 2-year prison sentence plus court costs with credit for time served, after pleading guilty for an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and an injury to a child, elderly, or disabled person. Margarito Azarco of Fort Worth had his charge amended from possession of a controlled substance to tampering with evidence and was sentenced to 5 years probation plus court costs. John Champion pleads guilty to a theft of property and possession of a controlled substance and was given 15 months in state jail with credit for time served plus court costs. Joshua Sanchez had 3 cases, on each for possession of a controlled substance, injury to a child, and cruelty to a non-livestock animal. He was sentenced to 5 years probation on each charge with safe P as a stipulation plus court cost. All other cases were rescheduled or set for jury trials. Mark your calendars for Saturday, June the 12th. Cove is putting on their annual food truck festival from 6 to 10 in the city park on West Avenue B. There'll be food trucks, beer and wine, tent, market vendors, yard games, kid activities, and live music. It'll be $5 per carload or $1 per person for walk-ins. They'll have an adult kickball tournament as well. Making Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary state is something Governor Abbott has called for, and the Texas Senate took one step to making it a reality yesterday. TSN's Chris Fox has more.
State Senator Bob Hall's Senate Bill 513 would prohibit the use of public funds towards the enforcement of future federal firearms rules and regulations that exceed those of Texas.
Just because the federal government chooses to overstep its authority, Texas does not have to be a willing accomplice.
Senate Democrats challenged the constitutionality of the bill. Senator Chuy Hinojosa.
I always thought that federal law preempts state law.
The states cannot or are not required to enforce a federal law they choose not to.
That point would most likely be challenged in the courts. In Austin, Chris Fox, TSN News.
If you're looking for work, the COVID vaccine may no longer be optional.
That's because a growing number of businesses are requiring both new hires and returning workers to get vaccinated as a prerequisite for employment. St. Mary's School of Law professor Bill Pyatt says there is precedent pointing to the flu vaccine.
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has said that generally employers can require flu vaccinations as a condition of continuing employment or for new hires.
Meanwhile, vaccine hesitancy remains an issue as every American becomes eligible for their shot. According to the latest Fox News poll, 22% of unvaccinated people do not plan to get the jab. Michael Board, TSN News.
In sports, Badger baseball took on Llano last night on home dirt in a non-district game, easily walking away with a 7-2 win. The Badgers wait for the rest of the district to get caught up on their games to see what the playoff spots look like in the next few days. Lady Badger softball playoffs kick off tomorrow in a 2-out-of-3 series against Burke Burnett. Game 1 at Brock High School, Game 2 on Friday in Stephenville. Both of those have 6 o'clock first pitch. Game 3 is back in Brock on Saturday with a 1 o'clock start. Of course, all games can be heard live on KCYL 1450 on the AM side or at lampasasradio.com.
1019 KACQ.